Money. It's always what we want, don't necessarily have, and when the money and power issue comes out, you know what's funny? I don't think I had this last year. I'm trying to remember if I had it the year before. It's an interesting magazine because they get into the top 100 most powerful and or richest in hockey. And of course, you got to have Gary Bettman front and center. That's kind of how it works. And so using that magazine, I went through and I made this chart. The trick with this chart is trying to do a video on it without it taking half an hour, because it's just not going to work. So I wanted to kind of condense it down here. Talk about owner values and then this. So if you can read all this, congratulations. These are the valuations between 2014 and 2018 of every team in the NHL. I condensed it more on this side. Henry Samueli is the owner of the Anaheim Ducks. He's worth $3.9 billion. Just as a note, if you feel any kind of kinship more with the owners than with the players, by the end of this video you probably won't. And then I'll get into free agency in a video sometime soon, and you won't feel any kinship with them either. It's millionaires and billionaires is what this is. So $3.9 billion for him. He paid $75 million for the team in 2005. Over the last 5 years, this has been tracked up till 2018. They've gone from a value of $365 million to $400 million. Or $460 million. Sorry. First one, too. $460 million. They're a team that's definitely grown in value, but I do get alarmed sometimes with the amount of empty seats. But no rumors of them being moved. We'll get into the dots on this one. The Arizona Coyotes. Andrew Barroway's worth $50 million, according to this magazine, which is a lot of money, but it's not a lot for an owner. He paid $305 million for his share in the team in 2014, and I understand some of these owners are not singular owners. They may be part of a conglomerate, but the majority owner is what's shown in that magazine. Barroway's team has gone from a value of $225 million to $290. A green dot means the team's already moved. A red dot means there's rumors the team could move, or there's been rumors in the past of the team moving. Arizona, it's kind of both. The Houston rumors will stay out there as long as there's an appetite for hockey in Houston, and that appetite is there, and there's a belief that it'll happen. Now, whether it's Arizona that ends up being sacrificed because they're moving to the Central, they're the lowest value team, and Andrew Barroway wants a valuation of the team of a lot more money than what it's worth for guys who want to come in and help him run the team. Remember, he's worth $50 million. The team's losing millions of dollars every year. Eventually, something has to give. But anyways, Boston. Jeremy Jacobs is at the opposite end. He's worth $4 billion. Paid $10 million for the team in 1975, which probably seemed steep at the time. Now, that's a bargain. The Bruins have gone from a value of $750 million to $925 million. I'm not aware of any rumors at any point of the Boston Bruins being relocated. Buffalo, Terry Pagula's worth $4.5 billion. It's a nice $4 billion you got there, Jeremy. Do you want to see my other $500 million? $189 million he paid for the team in 2011. The team's gone from a valuation of $288 million in 2014 to a valuation of $375 million in 2018. There's a red dot there because there have been rumors in the past about Buffalo. Maybe they'll move the Buffalo Sabres. You know, Sabres are losing money. Sabres, it's a small market. Sabres. And they've weathered that, and I don't hear that anymore. Calgary, their majority owner, Murray Edwards, $1.5 billion he's worth. He paid $40 million for a 15% stake of the team in 1994. The team was worth $451 million in 2014. Is worth $450 million according to Forbes in 2018. So been some tough times for some of these Canadian teams, Calgary being one of them. They are, of course, relocated from Atlanta, and right now we're dealing with the odd rumor here and there. Be a shame if we had to move out of the city because we can't get rid of this building here and make you a new one. But there's talks of revitalizing the downtown. I even saw a news article on the a news report the other night on Global about what they could do with the downtown and just trying to figure out exactly where that money's going to come from. Carolina, Tom Dundon's the owner. He's worth $1.1 billion. Of course, he paid $550 million for the team last year. Their valuation's gone from $220 million in 2014 to $420 million in 2018. So they're going in the right direction, but still there's always going to be rumors of, well, we could just move Carolina. That's kind of a standard response for a lot of hockey fans. Sadly, for fans in Carolina, fans in Arizona are like, hey, Crimea River, we're always being mentioned. Carolina, of course, got moved from Hartford, and there's always rumors of them being moved as well. It's always there. Just because of attendance and money. Who knew? Rocky Wirtz is the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks, worth $4.5 billion. Of course, he took over from Bill. The family's owned the team since 1954, when I want to say it was Rocky's grandfather who paid $1 million for the team back then. Could be great grandfather. Anyways, the team's been in the family name for a long time. They were worth $825 million in 2014, worth $1.05 billion in 2018. Yes, the Hawks are a team that you can basically print money with this franchise. Colorado, Ann Walton Cranky's worth $6.8 billion. So she comes in, and most of the owners will be like, whose wife are you? And she's like, I got $6.8 billion. I own the Avalanche. I'm here. She's owned the team since 2000 when she bought them for $450 million. That included the Denver Nuggets. Of course, they are moved from Colorado, thus the green dot next to their logo there. They've gone from a value of $360 million to a value of $430 million between 2014 and 2018. The growth is there. It hasn't been tremendous, but then again, the success of the franchise has been middling as well. Columbus, John McConnell's been the owner from the beginning, according to that magazine. $80 million expansion fee in 1997. He's worth $3 billion. $80 million is not a big deal for him. And one thing you have to remember, too, is that for these guys who are worth a lot of money, if you have a franchise that's losing money, it's a tax write-off. $200 million the team was worth in 2014. They're now worth $320 million. And they're a team that, I don't know. I don't know where the Columbus franchise is headed, what the future looks like, but they seem pretty stable at this stage. Tom Gagliardi is the owner in Dallas. He's worth $3.9 billion, paid $240 million in 2011 for a share of the team. Worth $420 million at the 2014 valuation, worth $525 million in 2018. A little green dot there because, of course, they moved from Minnesota. Detroit. Chris Ilitch, who just, of course, inherited the team, $6.1 billion is his worth. Mike Ilitch paid $8 million for the team in 1982. What looks like a bargain now, at the time it was, why in the world would anybody buy a team in Detroit? City of Detroit's in the crapper, and the Red Wings aren't much better. Nobody wanted to play for the Red Wings, and Mike Ilitch changed that quickly. Team's valuation was $570 million in 2014, $775 million in 2018, thanks in large part to the work of Mike Ilitch and the management team in place. Daryl Katz is the owner in Edmonton. He's worth $3 billion. He paid $200 million for the team in 2008. Little red dot there because there have been rumors at times of Edmonton maybe being on their way out of Edmonton. I'm thinking late 90s is when that was pretty prevalent. We had just lost Winnipeg, we'd lost Quebec, and there were a lot of rumors that Edmonton was next. WHA team, small market, and the idea that the Canadian dollar being really low, salaries were going through the roof, that Edmonton couldn't afford to pay an NHL team. Team evaluation was $475 million in 2014, $540 million in 2018. So the valuation's gone up tremendously since they built the new building. So for Calgary, that's kind of what you look at there, is that the new building definitely helped their valuation of the franchise. Florida, their owner, Vincent Viola, $2.6 billion is his worth. He paid $250 million for the team in 2013. The team's valuation in 2014 was $190 million. They're now worth $295 million. So they're still one of the lowest level teams in terms of valuation. And, of course, the red dot is because constantly you'll hear about Florida's. Florida, Carolina, Arizona. Florida, Carolina, Arizona. Those are the three. L.A., owned by Philip Anschutz, worth $11.3 billion. Paid $113.25 million for the team in 1995. So some dodgy ownership in LA before that, of course. We don't need to get into that, but some dodgy ownership. The team's pretty stable now. They were worth $580 million in 2014, worth $810 million, most recent evaluation in 2018. So Pretty solid for them. Minnesota owner Craig Leopold worth $3.6 billion. Paid $260 million for the team in 2008. Team was worth $370 million in 2014, worth $490 million in 2018. So Minnesota trending up in the right direction as well. But for sake of argument, they're worth less than the Dallas Stars, the team that moved from Minnesota. Montreal. Montreal is a success story no matter what way you look at it. Jeff Molson, $1.5 billion is his worth. He paid $500 million in 2009 to own the Montreal Canadiens. The team was worth $1 billion in 2014 and worth $1.3 billion in 2018. Again, much like Chicago, Montreal, you can print money with that franchise. Nashville, owned by Tom Seguin. Anyways, his value, he doesn't tell you. Not available. $174 million he paid for the team in 2007 during a lot of upheaval and turmoil in Nashville. They had a hard time finding an owner that didn't want to move him somewhere else. So that was, and the NHL was very firm on, we're not moving the Predators. If you're going to buy them, you're going to leave them here. And at the time he bought them, the team was kind of seen as circling the drain. But their valuation, they've gone from $250 million in 2014 to $425 million in 2018. So the team's value goes up, and it'll go up again next year as well. I don't see any reason why when they do the valuation for 2019 that it won't go up again. Nashville's a success story now. They were not a success story. A success story 10 years ago. New Jersey. Josh Harris is the owner. $3.6 billion is his worth. Paid $320 million for the team in 2013. The team's worth $330 million in 2014, worth $455 million in 2018. They, of course, moved from Denver, and there have been rumors at times about New Jersey moving. Whether it's because of an arena that was out in the middle of nowhere, whether it's a lack of attendance, whether it's a lack of success. After the New Jersey Devils came into the league, it was not long before we heard, hey, the NHL might want to move or contract the franchise. The franchise was seen as just completely misrun from top to bottom, had been from the beginning, and maybe we're better off just to scrap the whole thing. Because Kansas City, Denver, and then New Jersey, there was no light at the end of the tunnel for the franchise really until the late 80s, early 90s. No talk about any moving now, but the Red Dot's there because there was talk at the time. New York Islanders are owned by Scott Malkin. His value is not available. $485 million he paid for the team in 2014 with John Ledecky. The team was worth $300 million in 2014, worth $440 million in 2018, and of course, famously, Quebec Nordique fans went down and were kind of jerks about it with Islander fans wanting their team back. And again, we understand Quebec wants their team back. I want to see Quebec get a team back too, but trolling another fan base, it's not a good look. And the Islanders right now, of course, they're getting the new building in Belmont. Between now and then, they're going to kind of look homeless, but it's a good future that they have, and they have solid ownership. So I expect that valuation to go up, especially when they get the new building. New York Rangers, owned by James Dolan. I don't know where Ted came from. Ted's not anywhere on the board. James Dolan, $1.5 billion is his worth. Paid $650 million in 1997, which seems like a lot, because he also purchased the Knicks, Madison Square Garden, and the MSG Network. So he bought a lot with that $650 million, and worth $1.5 billion. And the Rangers as a franchise, worth $1.1 billion in 2014, $1.55 billion in 2018. Yeah, it's the most valuable franchise in the NHL. Didn't start out that way. They've got there, though. And they've got there despite very little success on the ice. So this is all about just the valuation of the team in general. And the Rangers, I tell you, if they can build a Stanley Cup contender or champion out of this, their value is going to go right through the roof. Ottawa, of course, Eugene Melnyk famously owns the team. He's worth $1.2 billion. He paid $92 million back in 2003 to buy the team, and with buying the team, he also got the arena as well, which is part of the reason why with the whole idea of, we're going to build a new arena, he wants to have control over that arena. He doesn't want to lose control over that arena. $400 million was their value in 2014. 435 is the Senators' value in 2018. And of course, rumors of them moving had been out there, are going to be out there because Melnyk, he's a dodgy character. And as long as that dodgy character's in there, you're going to hear talk about, well, they could always end up just moving the team if he gets frustrated with losing money. If he's actually losing money, which I guess you can cook the books so you're losing money. Philly. Dave Scott's the owner. No report on how much he's worth. 1996, he got the majority, and then he got the last 24% from Ed Snyder in 2016. So he gradually bought the team up between 1996 and 2016. So it took him 20 years. The team's value was $625 million in 2014, $800 million in 2018. I'm thinking he likes his investment. Pittsburgh. Mario Lemieux is the owner. His worth is not available. I'd be interested to know how much Lemieux is worth. How much more has he made as an owner than he made as a player? Did he make just as much as a player as he has as an owner? How much money did the Penguins put in his coffers? It'd be interesting to know. He paid $107 million in 1999. Of course, Ron Burkle was in there with him on it because there was no way that Lemieux, coming out of being a player, just as a player, would have qualified to be an owner in the NHL. The team's value was $565 million in 2014, worth $640 million in the most recent evaluation. No, $650 million, sorry. So Pittsburgh, a team that at one point was talked about moving to Hamilton. And Lemieux stepped up and went, no, we're not. Lemieux has stepped up and saved this franchise more than once, as a player and then as an owner. And Pittsburgh, there were rumors back in the 80s, there were rumors of Pittsburgh potentially moving as well. The team was just miserable. It was a miserable franchise. But they stuck around and they got their footing, and now they're solid. St. Louis, in this magazine, it's an interesting thing. Alphabetically, does San Jose come first or St. Louis? St. Louis, if you consider it S-A-I-N-T, St. Louis, alphabetically comes before San Jose, which is S-A-N, San Jose. Just a little note there, and that magazine lists them alphabetically that way, which is the way I always list them, to be completely honest, other than when I do videos, which is I can't put St. Louis ahead of San Jose or everybody's going to lose their minds because it's the internet. But that's how I read it too, as S-A-I-N-T. I understand S-T period is how we see it printed, but S-T period is short for Saint. Tom Stillman's the owner of the St. Louis Blues. His value is not available. He paid $130 million with 15 other owners in 2012, so he's a majority owner. $235 million was the worth of the team in 2014, now worth $465 million. So St. Louis, valuable team compared to what they were 4 years ago, or 5 years ago. 5 years ago from now, 4 years ago from when this chart starts. There have been rumors in the past of St. Louis moving. Saskatoon famously had a deal to get the team, and the NHL went, we're going where? No! And they blocked it. They said no, that wasn't happening. The NHL just went no to Saskatoon. And in hindsight, it was the right move. I know there's people in Saskatoon that won't like hearing me say it, but yeah, not having a team in St. Louis would have been absolutely ridiculous. San Jose, Hasso Plattner is the owner, worth $12.7 billion. Paid, I don't know. The number wasn't in there for how much was paid back in 2002 with 11 other owners. So he's the majority owner. Didn't have the value of how much was paid, though. $425 million is the team's value back in 2014. Now worth $510 million. So San Jose is gradually growing, not as fast as they'd like in terms of their value, but they're still growing, and that's the thing. You're going in the right direction. Tampa, Jeff Vinik is the owner. He's worth $1.7 billion. Paid $170 million for the team back in 2010. Good return on investment. The team's worth $230 million in 2014, worth $445 million in 2018. And interestingly enough, this is a Southern team. There's been no rumors about an issue with moving. So while Florida, Carolina, Arizona, there's been all kinds of talk, I've never heard it with Tampa. Never once heard Tampa needs to move. Other than from fans who don't like teams in the South. But in terms of the NHL ownership, anybody in that circle, I've never heard anything about it. Toronto, owned by Larry Tannenbaum, who is worth $1.5 billion, paid $21 million for 12.5% of the team in 2008, and then he ended up going up to 25% in 2011, so not the sole owner of the Maple Leafs. The team was worth $1.3 billion in 2014, lost value after 2014, gained it back, and is now up to $1.45 billion currently. Yep, that's another team you can print money with, is those Leafs, I tell you. Vancouver, a team that fell on hard times, but Francesco Aquilini, worth $3.3 billion. Paid $207 million for the team in 2005 at a point where there was some uncertainty. You'll notice the red dot next to Vancouver because at one point, yes, there was talk of maybe Vancouver will move to Seattle. That was the big one that was out there was, maybe the team moves to Seattle. The American dollar, it's still close. You don't have to move teams to another division. They just move down the street. It's a 3-hour drive from Vancouver, and you're in Seattle. And cities look similar. They're at a similar spot, Pacific Northwest. Of course, we just call it West Coast here, but anyways, Pacific Northwest for Seattle. Didn't happen. The team's value was $800 million in 2014 and dropped steeply. Is now worth $735 million. So Vancouver's gone from being, I think the chart said they were 5th in 2014 in terms of overall team values, and now they're 9th. So they have dropped, but they're trending back in the right direction. Vegas has been in the league very short period of time. Bill Foley doesn't disclose how much he's worth. Paid $500 million expansion fee in 2017. And in a year, the team's gone from being worth $500 million to being worth $575 million. And that value is just going to keep going up. Vegas is going to be one of those teams you can just use to print money. Its value will keep going up. Because I'm completely honest, fans will pay whatever they have to for tickets, for merchandise. The merchandise is everywhere in that city. And I really think that the sky's the limit when it comes to Vegas. They love the owner. They love everybody on the team. It's a love fest, and I don't think winning necessarily matters. I think that if the team went into the tank next season and missed the playoffs by a mile, I don't think that's going to negatively impact the team at the gates or in terms of overall merchandise sales. But again, we'll see, right? Capitals, $500 million was their valuation 4 years ago. Ted Leonsis has been around longer than that. He's worth $1 billion, paid $85 million back in 1999 with John Ledecky, who also helped Scott Malkin buy the New York Islanders. This John Ledecky guy, he sure does like to help. So helps Leonsis out with $85 million. Leonsis pays $85 million in 1999. Team was worth $500 million in 2014. Coming out of a Stanley Cup win, they're worth $725 million. So that's not bad. That's a pretty good return on investment, isn't it? So Leonsis, been a pretty happy owner, I would think, in 2018, and credited with a lot of what it took to make that team a championship team finally. And last but not least is the Winnipeg Jets. Mark Chipman's the owner, worth $500 million. Paid $170 million in 2011, of course, to get the team out of Atlanta with David Thompson. And good thing they got the team out of Atlanta because they didn't have a building. So they had to get out of Atlanta. $358 million was the value of the team back in 2014. Their current value, $415 million. And a little green dot because they moved from Atlanta, much like the Calgary Flames. If you want a team that's available, talk to Atlanta. This is probably part of the reason why Atlanta doesn't have a team. There you go. Tried to keep this as short as possible, but there is 31 teams, and that makes it difficult. So let me know what you guys think about the overall ownership picture. And remember, the next time they talk about a lockout and they talk about how they're losing money, remember these values, because it really, really makes it look quite different. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.